Good morning, everybody from sunny Lexington, Kentucky. I'm Tara. Welcome to A Loop Through a Loop. Today is Monday, November 30th, 2020, and we are getting our first official snowfall right now. So my oldest daughter, who's 5, is just losing her mind because when you're 5, everything is magical and amazing. So I'm trying to harness that, especially with the holiday season and us kind of just staying in our own little bubble, to kind of just realize that there is so many miraculous things in the ordinary things, like a dusting of snow, because it's not even really sticking. Okay, so I feel like November was a more productive knitting month for me than October was. I just feel like there were lots of things that I've been working on and finishing that I'm very excited about. So we'll start with what I'm wearing. So I'm not wearing any hand knit items today. And part of that could be that I'm passing forward a lot of my knits. But one thing that I am wearing that's handmade are the earrings that I mentioned in last month's episode. So I had mentioned I'd ordered a pair of earrings from Designs by Yasmin at her Indie Untangled shop. And in that video, I talked about how it has the square design and then the pride colorway, which I don't know who dyed the yarn, but I know that the colorway is called Mexicana. But she had used these for her Pride Month colors. So I just really, really like that. I like that a lot. A lot. So, and then for whatever reason, I'm really into these white or cream colored shirts with puffy sleeves. And every time I put it on, I'm thinking, I'm feeling kind of colonial, homesteadery today. I don't know. And then I have on a pair of rompers that I call mompers because they're really good for momming around the house. Like I can pick up toys and shove it in the pockets, or, I can run after the kids and my pants always stay up. So like my grandfather, dad's dad, wore overalls pretty much every day of his entire life that I knew him. Except if it was a special occasion, then he'd wear dress pants with suspenders. But he was always in the same striped bib overalls every single day. And now I get it. And I'm not gonna go so far as to say that I'm gonna wear like rompers or overalls every single day, but maybe could be something I aspire to. They're just too convenient. There's always room to eat extra food, especially around the holidays. My pants don't have to fall down. I mean, going to the bathroom can be tricky, but we'll move on. Okay, so that's what I'm wearing. I'm wearing Yasmin's earrings, and it is the holiday seasons. If you know somebody that would really enjoy a pair of handmade crocheted earrings, you can order some from Yasmin's shop. You look up Designs by Yasmin on Instagram and Etsy. And she had posted, the last time that I was on Instagram, she had posted that she's so close to having 1,000 sales, which she's super close. She was at 970 and some change. And so I think how amazing and what a blessing that she has been able to make that many pairs of earrings. And I mean, I just wonder where they are in the world. I know I have 2 pairs. I have 2 of those. So she's so close to 1,000. So hooray for her. Such a good blessing. Let's jump into the knitting. Enough chatter about overalls. And we'll start with FOs. And the first thing that I have written down is my daughter's hat, and I forgot to bring it up. So it's just a hat. I mean, the most exciting part about it is just the yarn that she picked out. So I kind of didn't count that as part of like my accountability because when we went to go look at yarn that I had earned, I let her pick out a skein because she really wanted a hat, and then it was on sale already. So that hat had to have cost me maybe $3 or $4, maybe. Not even that much, maybe $2 or $3. So I don't know if I would necessarily count that with my accountability, but you can see pictures of it online. So we'll just move on to the next thing, which would be my husband's Montrealer. So this is the Montrealer hoodie designed by Designs by Dells. It is knit with Yarn B Soft and Sleek DK, which instead of the DK, I would say it's more sport weight. The pattern calls for worsted weight, but since I already had this yarn and this idea in my head, I used what I had. It calls, I don't remember what needle size the pattern calls for, but I know I used a US 5. And then around the cuff, I used a US 3. And on the hood, for my trim color around the hood, I used a US 4 just to kind of keep it a little neater. I didn't want it, the stitches to look too loose and messy. So the construction is top down, raglan sleeve. It does also have a kangaroo pocket. This is the first time I've ever done a pocket, and it was really easy. No complaints there. And then it does have the trim. Going back, if I had to do it again, I probably would have done the pocket trim in the contrasting color, but really I think it turned out nice. The bottom hem is using the main color, and the cuff is using the contrasting color, mainly because I was afraid I was going to run out of the main color. So I used the contrasting color there. The hood is knit using the main color with the contrasting color for the trim, which I think turned out really nice. In the materials, it said to use a 40-inch cord for the hood. I just knit my own cord. So I learned how to do a pocket, I learned how to do a hood. It was really good. Okay, so after I finished my husband's Montrealer, which now I think maybe I want one for myself, then I finished my test knit for Rachel of Kentucky Knits, the O-Reed sweater. I'm not going to show it in here. It kind of made a brief appearance in my closet clean out. But I do have a video that I'll release, I want to say like maybe on New Year's. I don't know. I think that would be kind of fun. I think she's going to release the pattern at the beginning of January. And so I think I'll probably release the video very, very soon when she releases the pattern. So the video will document my entire journey through making the sweater. I do 3 check-ins while it's a work in progress, and then the 4th and final check-in is the finished sweater. So that's all I'm going to say about it. She says it's not like a surprise, like we can talk about it, we can share it and all that kind of stuff. But I think part of the fun is the anticipation of the unknown, or the curiosity of, okay, so what is that? Like, you kind of showed it, but not really, and now you want to see the full thing. So that's all I'm going to say there. And I did use part of my accountability money, or like my accountability system, to purchase yarn for that sweater. And then I also used my accountability reward to get money for this next sweater. Okay, so let's talk about plain, because that's what this is. That's what this FO was all about, was just plain. So I had leftover black yarn from my Grace pullover, and then I bought this blush color to make a Grace pullover and blush, but by the time I was ready for this, I kind of just wanted to make something different. I wanted to see if I could actually knit up a sweater on my own without following a pattern. So I had just finished my test knit, which was a bottom up drop shoulder. And my brain was kind of clicky with how that construction was working. I was like, well, I wonder if I could could I do this on my own? If I kind of remember the techniques that she used in her pattern, then that would be awesome. And what if I could just make up my own sweaters as I like them? Because I kind of like having a sweater that's all my own, that's not like everyone else's. But at the same time, I do love seeing what everyone else makes and the patterns that come out. So like it's this weird contradiction of I love looking at new patterns and I love seeing what people are making, but then also wanting to have something of my own and not copying, but kind of copying. I don't think I'm alone in this. I hope not. I hope that maybe somebody out there is like that. So anyway, this is a mashup of things that I've seen over the past year that just kind of melted together into a science experiment. So I have a bottom-up construction, the funky, totally mindless color work is kind of the Wonder Ball, but not inspired by Jen Giggly. Oh no, now I forgot how to pronounce her name. I am deeply apologize for that. Her True Colors sweater. And what I liked about it is that you connected everything by tying knots. Now, in Jen's sweater that she created, the knots are left with longer ties, and it's also using like jumbo yarn, really thick. Well, this is just chunky yarn, and if I left those ends out, I mean, I could have. I cut about 2 inches for the tails, and then I decided I didn't like it, so I went back and trimmed them. So then it's more, it reminded me of like old rag quilts where like my grandma would have used like red thread to tie down the quilting. So that's kind of why I did that. And then I just used the colors that I had. I wanted to play with a dropped hem. I think this would have looked better if this is more cropped, but I'm not really a cropped sweater girl. I don't know. Because I'm pear-shaped, I have to be careful about things that are oversized and where they hit me, because it can make my hips look bigger than I would care for them to be. But it was fun to play with the exaggerated hem. And from the back, I quite like this. But I kind of wish the front hem I would have knit a little bit longer, but that was the whole point of just playing. There was no plan. I literally just knit as I went. So I knit up to the dropped shoulder. See, it's just big square. I did put in some shoulder shaping, and I used the same idea for my shoulder shaping that Rachel had put in her test, well, it's not her test knit, it was my test knit, but in her pattern for her sweater that should be coming out in January. So I'll share more later. And then I just picked up stitches. I left a neck hole that was measured approximately 8 inches in the front and the back. So like I just did the math, how many stitches would equal 8 inches, and then that's how many I bound off. Then I picked up stitches and I knit the neckband. Now when I first tried this on before, I've only seamed blocked this. I haven't actually put it in the washing machine. So you're not supposed to iron acrylic yarn, but I did. I'm not sorry. I did iron it. I put down I have an old t-shirt that I use to put in between the iron and the yarn. So I ironed it. This is what happens. It just got really floppy. It was just plain, so I didn't care if I broke the rules. So anyway, before the ironing, this was a lot tighter, but it's softened now. Something I don't like in the front here is this row of pink, and that's just because I had one row of pink stitches where I bound off and then picked up stitches for the neckband. And while this is by no means supposed to be a neat and tidy sweater, I don't really care for that. The back is much better. I like the back much better. It's a little more clean. It's kind of like you have to choose where to be messy, and I just didn't like that. And then in the sleeves, what I love about this, I don't really usually like color work on the sleeves, for no particular reason other than I just don't like it. It's a small circumference, and I just have to be in the right mood for it. But what was great about this is that my sleeves did not have to match, and I kind of just went for it. So I did this sleeve first. I wanted a long exaggerated cuff, and all I did is I just knit straight to see what would happen. It's okay, I don't know that I love it. I would play around with it again. And then on this sleeve, what happened was I got to here and I was like, I want to use up every last bit of this black yarn. So I just knit, and I thought, well, I should probably put a little bit of pink in there. And then knit until I literally, like, this was the last of the black yarn. And then finished it off. Like, there was no premeditated planning in the color work of this. It was literally just change colors whenever I felt like it. Before blocking, this black stripe was like at a weird place, like, I don't know. I feel like it kind of works now because the black stripe hits under my bust, so it kind of works as like a faux belt, you know? So it kind of gives like an empire waist kind of almost. I don't know. That's the only thing is like you have to, like, if you're gonna do like a bold stripe, be careful where you do the bold stripe, or if you're gonna care. And then I also had to think about where those knots were coming because I didn't want those knots on my breasts because that's awkward too. But anyway, I'm probably not gonna keep this because the sleeves are too floppy and whatever. I'm gonna pass this on to somebody who's probably much younger and cooler than I am. But it was kind of fun just to play. And there was like low risk because the yarn was very inexpensive. It was on sale. And I think the ironing gave the drapiness that I wanted. So like that really helped with the ribbing. But I feel like someone cool and hip and a lot younger than me would get the most bang out of this. It was just fun. Okay, so after I finished my True Colors inspired sweater, the next thing I finished was my half and half triangles wrap. This is a free pattern from Pearl Soho. I don't remember the name of the person that designed it, and I apologize for that. But I'm in love with this. I am super in love with my color choices. So if I want to be bright and pinky, or if I want to be more toned down with red, that's not really toned down, but I so love this. It feels amazing. So I have, since I finished this, I have gone ahead and ordered yarn from Pearl Soho for my next wrap. So I think I've just decided that this might be a knit that I always have going. One of these wraps is always going to be in the works. Because I don't know exactly what it is. If it's the pattern and the yarn combination, that it's just something that I don't really want it to end. And the pattern is very simple, but the short rows in it have enough interest that like I'm still engaged. And it's perfect if I'm playing a game with my daughter, especially her memory game that has like 80 bajillion cards to it, and so we spend all morning playing the game. It's fun to have that to work on. So I already have my next one like in mind. The yarn hasn't come yet, so I can't I don't want to talk about colors or anything like that until it comes. Or maybe I just want it to be a complete surprise. I don't know. So then after I did that, I found this headband. This is Headband with a Twist. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. It's been, when I've clicked on the like what's hot right now patterns, it's been kind of danced in there. But so this is the pattern I used. It calls for a light worsted, and so I used yarn left over from my husband's sweater to make this one. It is with size, oh, I don't remember what size needles. 5 or 6? 6? I think it's a size 6 needle. US size 6. I don't know what that is in millimeters, you know. And then it's single color brioche. I didn't know that. I thought it was just ribbing, which tells you how much I know about brioche, which is like, well, I know more now than I did, but I couldn't look at that, and I just thought it was ribbing. So like, here's the back of it. So I just thought that was ribbing. I didn't know that it was brioche. And then like, I opened it up and I got to where the directions were, and it's like yarn over, slip, knit, yarn over, slip, knit, and then turn it over, yarn over, slip, knit 2 together, yarn over, slip, knit 2 together. And I was like, I wonder if that's brioche. And it turned out it was. So there's the sweet little headband. And then I was like, well, if I'm going to do single color brioche, I might as well go ahead and learn 2 color brioche. Now this one, oh dear, this one is a bit thicker because it's a chunky yarn. So what I did is I had a pink skein of yarn left over from my True Colors sweater. And then this green is actually 2 strands of Knit Picks Snuggle Puff, held double. It's actually what I used to knit my weekender when I had it. So I held the green double with the pink, and this was difficult for me. So, oh, make sure our hair doesn't look all crazy. Kind of crazy here. This took me, it took me an entire day just to even wrap my brain around what I was doing. And then the next day, like being like, by that night, I was like, okay, I've got this. I can do this. So I might have started this and ripped the entire thing out 4 or 5 times, maybe even more than that. Because what I learned about myself when I was going through this is that a lot of, at first I just had my Vogue knitting book because it talks about how to brioche in there. And normally when I look in one of my books, I can kind of figure out, okay, so this is what I'm doing, and I can take it from there. I've got it. But it just was not clicking. I was like, okay, I'm going to go to YouTube now. And I went to YouTube and I watched several different videos, and you know, some are better than others as far as clarity of instruction. And a lot of them were throwers, and I'm a continental, but if you show me something in throwing, I can usually like figure out what it is that you're doing. But when you're throwing, the movement of your yarn is like, it's different. Like, even though we're accomplishing the same things, regardless of continental or English, like our knitting results in the same thing, but there are extra little movements that you have to do when you throw to get your yarn in the right placement for the next stitch, that sometimes I was just like, this is kind of overwhelming. A lot of it was what to do, and I realized that every time I was making a yarn over, the reason why I was making the yarn over was essentially to get the yarn. So So I taught for 11 years. So my natural inclination is like to move and gesture and try and show. So like if my head, just go with me on this. If my head was a slip stitch and I need to yarn over, it's because that stitch needs to stay visible on that side. So once my brain got around to that, then I was fine and I could figure it out. The tutorial that I found the most helpful if you were wanting to know how to two-color brioche was the Pearl Soho's video. Even though she's a thrower, she explained things very clearly without any like confusion. It just made so much more sense than any of the other ones that I watched. So there's that one. So I had 7 finished objects for this month, which I think is pretty good. So then we're gonna go and move into whips. So we'll start with one that I've been working on the longest, and that's my Soldotna. So I finished the body. It looks a little bit shorter, but I did actually lengthen this and it should be okay, especially after I kind of wash it a little bit and kind of stretch it out lengthwise, it'll be fine. I have started on a sleeve and I debated about whether or not to just focus on this and knock it out and get it done. But you know, what should have been a quick fast knit in DK weight yarn is not, because now I'm knitting the sleeves on a size 3 US 3 needle because this yarn is more like fingering, and you know, I want my color work to be nice and neat and not, you know, messy. So I would rather go down a needle size and have the sweater that I would like. I do have, and you can see it here, where you can see kind of some tension issues. So when I did the yoke, my tension was kind of tight, especially in this red row right here. When I got after the bust, it was kind of tight. And then down here, I fixed my tension issues and now this is loose, but it still fits okay when I wear it. And so my goal now is I've got to get this done by, I would like it done before Christmas Eve, so then I can wear it Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, either one. So I knit what did I knit this in? This is in yarn B 44th Street yarn, but I knit it on a range of needles. The color work is all done on 4s, the ribbing is done on 2s, and now the sleeve's gonna be done on 3, just to kind of keep the gauge somewhat similar. That's the guess. That's kind of, you know, how that's just gonna have to work out. Okay, I had to pause because the kids, they were downstairs eating breakfast, and then I guess they were done eating breakfast. So we're gonna go through the rest of the whips, I hope fairly quickly. Okay, so the next thing that I started working on was a sweater that I'm just making up as I go. Now, I don't have very much of this done because I started it and then I put pressure on myself to think that I need to make knit everybody something for Christmas, which was completely unnecessary, because unless somebody asks you to make something, we shouldn't feel obligated to make anybody anything. So this, I'll probably end up getting this done for this month for December. So it's going to be a bottom up drop shoulder construction. I'm thinking a rolled neckline. I'm not quite sure about the sleeves and what I'm going to do there, but it will be striped. This is fisherman's wool, and I think the blue might be some kind of fisherman's wool or some wool of some sort. I don't know, because it was hand-me-down and it didn't have a ball band around it. So I don't know. They're both the same weight and they feel very much like the same texture, and even like they just go together. So this will be a striped, very casual, like chill out at home kind of a sweater. I did a 2x2 hem at the bottom because I think those, I like them the best. And this is a US 8 or 9. I cannot tell. Hold on. A 9. I'm knitting this on a US 9, so it'll knit up fairly quickly. You know, use that term loosely. So those are 2 sweaters that I have in the works. And like I said, I'm normally monogamous. And then something wild and crazy happened. And then all of a sudden I just now have several things I'm working on at the same time, which is kind of nice because like with that Soldotna, if I was still knitting on those sleeves, I'd be like, ugh, so frustrated. But knowing that I can take a time out from that and work on something else and then go back to it is kind of nice, because like I said, that quick knit that everyone talks about is not so quick for me just because of the yarn. Okay, so my final whip that I am so close to finishing, like I literally have 4 grams of yarn left, is a hat. Actually, let me show you. It's from my Japanese Knitting Stitch Bible. And I believe that I've mentioned before that when I look at this, I'm just in awe because it's just so beautiful and intricate and like the kind of texture work that I would want to knit. And so I decided to choose, they have a couple little small patterns in the back of the book. And so I'm gonna try not to get a glare on this. This is the hat pattern that I wanted to focus on. And I had started it at one point after I had finished my test knit. This is leftover yarn from that sweater. And I just kept messing up and messing up and messing up and messing up. And then I realized maybe part of why I was messing up is because I never weighed how much yarn I had left over from my test knit. And now that I've come back to it, I haven't had the same problems. Like any problem that I might have had now is like super quick and easy to fix. And so I believe in things like that. If something's not working out, then there's a reason for it. And I think the reason that I was unable to successfully continue on in this pattern when I originally picked it up was because I needed to weigh that leftover yarn so that I could complete my video for that test knit. You might think that's a bunch of baloney or malarkey, but I believe that that's true. So something that I did do is I'm gonna try and cover up the chart. I don't want you to see the chart. But this is like my little cheat sheet on the sticky note. So I kept count of my rows up top with tally marks. And then any symbol that I saw on the chart, I wrote a key for it because I didn't want to flip back and forth to the front of the book. And I just found that completely invaluable and totally helpful. So the hat. So here's what I have. I just love this. And now that it's officially like, once Thanksgiving was over and I was working on this hat, I'm like, it's officially Christmas time. So I want to watch ballet. Like I think of the Nutcracker anytime that Christmas comes around. And so I watched the Nutcracker. I watched Sleeping Beauty, which was the first ballet I ever saw when I was little. And I'm gonna put this on so you can see. Get my bangs out of my eyes. So it fits beautifully. I love this. I love this. And then, so like I said, I'm super close to being done. The brim doesn't need to be crazy wide. And then I have this pom-pom that I took off of a hat that I had. I love it. I would make this hat again. This is not a quick knit. I would not call this a quick knit. To me, a quick knit is something that I can do kind of almost like without looking or having to put too much focus in. I had to sit down at a table with the book in front of me and my yarn next to it and just go like repeat by repeat. So this was good because now I feel like I can take a design from this book that I love, and I've marked some that I love, and I can put it into anything. And I mean, it is intimidating when you look at the charts, but then once you kind of get the hang of what different symbols mean, and then as you're going, you can very clearly see like what is the pattern or the picture that we're building with this design. You can kind of anticipate what you have to do next, even if you're like not sure what the symbol means. You're like, well, I probably need to do this because this is what the design is doing. So it becomes somewhat intuitive, but I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited. And like I said, I would totally knit this again. So these are US size 3 for the brim. I used a US size 5 for the rest of the hat, and it is a DK weight and the fit's perfect. The pattern in the book calls for a size 6. I didn't do a size. I think I like the size 5 better. And this US 3 Chiagu red lace is what I used to knit my half and half triangles wrap. And I only have 2 3s. So I have this set of 3s and then the 3s that are in my Soldotna on the sleeve. And I've just decided that this Chiagu red lace US 3 set is going to be dedicated to, after I finish this hat, dedicated to my half and half projects. So those are things that are currently being knit on and almost finished. And then what I'm going to do then is I also have, so I have kind of like, it's not dream knitting. It's like actual future knitting, like what I have in the works. So we are going to be expecting a nephew in the spring, and I would really like to make a blanket for that nephew. I'm not gonna knit baby things. So Pearl Soho has a 4 points baby blanket. It's a free pattern. So, I mean, it's basically a square and it's just 4 triangles. So the parents love DuckTales. And so what I did is I have tried to pick colors that would go with Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and then they're ducks. So I picked a cream. I don't remember what color corresponds to which duck, but I feel like this is my kind of a way to do a theme that's not super obnoxious or like completely like noticeable. Like it's a subtle hint to Huey, Dewey, and Louie and Scrooge McDuck without being like crazy. So I'm actually, instead of casting on, you know, another half and half wrap, I'm going to use those 3s to knit that baby blanket. And then I do have, so I have to make a decision with this yarn that I have, and I've shown it before. It's this Yarn Bee 44th Street in cool silver gray, whatever. Silver gray and camel. I'm pretty sure. Where's the color name? Camel, yes. So I can't decide if I want to use this to knit a large half and half triangles wrap after I get that blanket done, or if I want to go ahead and marl the yarns together to make another reed, which was the test knit that I did. Because I believe, if I can make this focus, I don't know. I think if I marl it, I would really, really like it. So I'm still like up in the air about what to do. I don't know. If you have any suggestions or input that could sway me in either way, that would be really helpful. But I mean, I've got plenty of knitting to keep me occupied until then. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. And it was funny because I was talking to my mom. She watched the closet clean out video I did, and she's like, why are you getting rid of all those sweaters? You worked so hard. And I was like, but Mom, I'll make more sweaters. I'm not missing out on anything. Like, the only thing that makes those sweaters special, or that could make them special, was that it was made by me, and that would seem most special probably to my mom. So, I mean, if you think about the stuff that we have, like, think about my bag. Like, this bag, you know, some people might like it, some people might not. And it's just a bag. But what makes it special for me, well, besides the fact that I made it, is that the pattern takes me back to a memory from when I was a kid. So that's what makes stuff or things, you know, special to us, is because we associate that item with a person or a memory or an event that happened. I mean, a thing is just a thing. Like, my coffee cup is just my coffee cup. This headband is just a headband, you know? Like, if I think about my wrap, I think about Caddy Jack's podcasts, and I think about Debbie Korb, and I think about everyone else that's knitting this, and it feels like a movement. And like, it feels like, even though I'm kind of just in my own little bubble, like maybe I was a part of something, and that maybe one day I'm going to wear this out in public, and I'm going to run into somebody who's wearing theirs and be like, and like, we'll be friends. It'll be like we're kids again. You know how it's so easy for kids to make friends? Like, they'll go to the playground, and all of a sudden there's just a big group of kids playing together. And then here are the moms on the park benches, like, spread out, all doing their own thing. Like, sometimes just, I kind of miss that. I'm not very people-y. Not because I don't like people, but sometimes I don't like people. You know what I mean? It's mostly just grown-ups. Grown-ups ruin all the fun. So anyway, I was distracted by my earrings again. I love it. So I hope that you guys have a good December. Like I said, I'm going to be praying for those of you who are struggling, and if you need some prayers specifically, then you can message me on Instagram as a loop through a loop, all one word, all lowercase, and I would be very happy to put you down in like a prayer list that I could pray over you if you're having a tough time, or if you just want well wishes. I think that's everything. Can I just mention one thing really quick that I love about living in Kentucky is that snow. Okay, so it's December 1st is tomorrow. There's a gentle snowfall happening, but like, there are trees that still have leaves hanging on, and they're still like yellow, orange, little bit of green. Like, it's just really, really pretty. And I love it. So that's it. That's everything. I'm going to go hang out with the kids. Probably, we started watching Frosty the Snowman, the 60s version with Jimmy Durante. And we're going to play and eat leftovers and color and draw and do all the kid things and stay inside and stay cozy. I told my daughter we'd go play out in the snow, but it doesn't look like it's really going to stick. This doesn't look like snow you want to go play in, like, because it's just melting. So we'll see. My daughter Abby said to tell everyone, Merry Christmas, which is appropriate because I probably won't post another episode like this until the end of December, like a New Year's thing. So that's it. That's everything. I need to get knitting because I'm so excited about all these projects, and I will catch you next time.